Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is the dawn of a new age. It is the dawn of a new season. Welcome to Season 2 of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series, and we kick things off with the second annual Clash at Daytona, where these drivers race their way in with poles that they won last season, and they're getting ready to duke it out for 20 laps. I'm being joined here in the broadcast booth by Mr. Michael Norman. And Michael, it's a fresh, clean slate for these drivers. No points on the line. What can we expect to see in today's race?
Okay, first of all, I want to say this. Be honest, this technically isn't the second clash.
It is the second clash.
How many years have we been doing this, and how many clashes have we done?
Okay, I will specify. It's the second clash of the Duracell Cup Series. Is that better?
There you go.
There
Much
we go.
better.
All right. Professionalism. But anyway, it's 20 laps. These drivers basically, I guess they're going to be able to use this as a testing session for the duels that are coming up. Of course, the Great American Race Daytona 500. How aggressive do you think they're going to be to try and get a checkered flag here?
Knowing these guys are very aggressive. Simple as that. Like, there is no non-aggressive. We've seen that a number of times. There's hardly any non-aggressive races in the Duracell Cup Series, but this specific type of track, I wouldn't be surprised to see them going 3 wide, 7 rows deep.
Well,
things like that.
Well, one thing that I should definitely state is because of this guy here next to me in the booth, we actually have a good Daytona track for this season. Because last year's Daytona 500, yeah, it was exciting. Yeah, we had a photo finish. But, I don't know, it wasn't your typical Daytona. So I think the clash here today is going to show us just exactly what kind of a 500 we're going to have. And, of course, we're going to have twice as many cars in the field for the 500. Only 19 cars made their way into our clash field this season. Let's go down and get that command.
Drivers, start your engines!
So 18 of these drivers made their way in with poles they had last season. One of them gets in because he's the defending Clash winner. That's the outside pole sitter, Matt McIntyre. The pole sitter for this race is Jesse Turner. He gets in being the pole sitter from Las Vegas last week, and you will see flashing on the bottom of your screen the starting lineup for today's race.
I see nothing flashing. What are you talking about?
It's because we're both blind. But anyway, you will see.
So I had something witty I was going to say, but I completely forgot what it was.
Okay.
Yep. It'll probably come back to me after the race, and I'll be like, damn, I wish I would have said that.
It'll come back to you probably on the final lap. You'll be like, oh yeah, that thing back at the beginning I was going to say.
Yep, probably.
But we're got a lot of drivers in this field with different numbers,
different
teams,
I remember.
Manufacturers. Now he remembers.
Yep, I do. Going back to what you said about thanks to me, you finally have a competitive Daytona. Basically, what he was trying to say is, thanks to me, I found a way for his series to be competitive and exciting at plate tracks, much like mine are.
Absolutely, except for Talladega, which I decided to change to Armory Digital this season because Dega was absolutely horrible last year. But anyway.
Well, you gotta make I changes. Actually, I used Talladega 2014, and
I did too. I used Talladega 2014, and it was a horrible race. It just was a 2-car battle in the final laps. But anyway, here in this race, as I stated, a lot of drivers with new teams, a lot of drivers with new manufacturers, a lot of drivers with new numbers. And there are a couple of drivers that are kind of the same old, but their paint schemes and their sponsorships got refreshed. So we'll try and introduce them to you during the course of this race. As we're getting ready. We won't? Oh, okay. We'll just be silent for these 20 laps.
Yep. We're just spectators today.
A moment of silence for the Duracell Cup Series. 20 laps salute.
Yeah, right.
But it will be a Ford Mustang and a Toyota Camry on the front row as the Dodge Charger pace car peels to pit road. And for the first time in Season 2, it's time to say green flags in the air, let's roll!
A moment of silence for 20 laps in memory of the $20 I lost at the movies last night.
Hey, but you got to have the Prince Ali wrong theme song go through your head.
Not gonna lie, that was a good movie for anyone who hasn't seen that. This is probably gonna go up weeks after the movie.
I was gonna say this is probably gonna be going up about a month and a half after the movie was released in theaters. So.
Okay, well, you know what?
At
this point, if you haven't seen it, find the website to pirate it and watch it, because it's actually a decent movie.
Footlocker.com, that's my other. Anyway, Jesse Turner
doesn't necessarily have it all the time.
Well, most of them do.
Who cares about this race? We're talking about movies. No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. As Jesse Turner out in front there, returning to the number 47 for Lake Effect Autosport, with a new-looking livery for his Air Force Mustang.
You know, I'm going to be brutally honest. Where do you come up with these names?
Well, actually, Lake Effect Autosport was actually Jesse Turner's choice for his team name.
I know, that's who I was talking to. I'm talking to everybody in general. Where do you come up with these names? You all got some unique ideas for team names.
Well, he's got actually a really cool team logo as well, notable along with it. As we got
Hey, I'm not-
for the lead, Kyle Matthews to the bottom.
Who?
The driver of the mellow yellow car. I forgot his
doesn't
name.
ring a bell.
I forgot his name. But he's driving for a new team. It's not, well, put it this way, it's a new team name. It's not a new team. Charles Sanford, Jessica Shelton, Kyle Matthews, all still driving for the same team, but the name changed from Racing Enterprises to S3 Motorsports. Plus, they have a little bit of different number font this season on their respective commands. And look at
Real
this.
quick.
Here's a guy who made a change.
Yeah, right? But I want to take a quick point and notice that off of turn number 4, that last lap, the outside lane got a great run.
It did.
So we could definitely see the outside lane come into play here more often than you would probably think.
Well, I did some test races here to see how this was going to be before, even this weekend here at Daytona, and all 3 lanes actually worked really well. So that's why I
Look at that outside lane go.
I got some pretty high hopes here when we get to not only this race, but the duels, the Daytona 500. But this guy out in front here, Michael Norman in the 18. And, of course, Michael Norman Motorsports last season, a lot of changes that went on with this team. They were a 4-car team last season with Chevrolets. They're a 4-car team this season, though, with Toyota Camrys. And a lot of different teams, actually, some big teams moved over to Camrys. Not only Michael Norman Motorsports, but also Joanna Atwood Motorsports moved over to Camrys. So I wonder why, and you probably could maybe shed some light on this. What do you think is the reasoning for this mass movement over to the Toyotas?
For me personally, it's just experience. I mean, I drive a Toyota in real life, so I figured, okay, I can't be a Chevy guy on a game that even though I drive a Toyota in real life. I mean, I'm Toyota. I live in a Chevy family. I just so happen to drive a Toyota, so Toyotas.
Well, so Toyotas. The greatest explanation of all time. Well, not only that, but also some online going over here to Offline. Both you and Matthew Rodriguez drive Toyotas for Con Racing and IMRC, and I think... No?
It's Con Autosport.
Con Autosport. My apologies. And you see right there, that outside line again, Michael Norman keeping the lead. You see Levi McIntyre here in the 99. Levi McIntyre went the entirety of last season without a victory. I believe he finished the highest in the points without a win, 17th in points outside of the playoffs. And still in the 99, still in Rockin' Ranch Racing, but a little bit different number font there. And
that was your idea, I know it.
It was definitely my idea, you better believe it. And instead of the red, white, and blue Captain America colors he had last year, he's got the purple hue there because he's being sponsored this season by Avengers Endgame.
They finally got around that 18 car because they finally let them out to dry.
Yes, they
These
did.
people know that Michael Norman Motorsports has one of the best plate track setups for their race cars. So, just like DEI back in the early 2000s, these drivers know that they can't let a Michael Norman Motorsports car lead for very long.
Well, I think they also know they got to gang up on the Michael Norman Motorsports cars as well, because 3 of the 4 are in this field. You've got Michael Norman there in the 18, Matthew Rodriguez third on that inside line, the 57, and of course the defending winner of this race last year, Matt McIntyre. So if they all get lined up, they might be a very difficult trio to pass.
You know, I'm not going to lie. I thought you were going to say they need to gang up on him because all 3 of them are running Toyotas.
Well,
I thought you were going to bring it back to the Toyota thing.
Well, I could bring it back to the Toyota thing, but that ship has sailed. As we're looking at Trey Wright here in the 28, I believe all 3 of his the drivers for Blue Oval Automotive are in this field. Yes, they are. We got the 28 of Trey Wright, the 38 of Jordan Lopez, and the 98 of Jose Mills. What a dominant team they were last season, as all 3 of them combined had a total of 8 wins. 1 for Trey Wright, 4 for Jordan Lopez, for Jose Mills rather, and 3 for Jordan Lopez. And all of them coming back with very similar sponsors, but again, the livery's a little bit different, and actually got the teammates line up 1-2 right there, the 28 and the 38 on that inside line.
Yep. Going around Daytona, like I said, 3 wide, several rows deep. The outside lane is the best place to be, in my honest opinion here, which is very, very strange because having used this track before in offline, the outside lane was never that strong. So unless you change something in this INI, it's producing some pretty good outside lane racing.
Yeah, I've changed nothing in the INI. The only thing I can think that maybe might be making a difference is we're running the 2019 rules package, which I don't think that you did. So that might be the slight difference. The teammates ganging up there on that inside line were able to get to P1 and P2 against Levi McIntyre. Let's drop back, take a look at some other drivers that have some changes this season. Ryan Acosta there in the 10. Now he's back with Joanna Atwood Motorsports, but that was another team, as I mentioned, that went to Toyota Camrys. And he's got some new sponsorships this season as well. He's got Home Depot that's sponsoring that team. We'll be seeing that scheme in later races. And of course, we're seeing here the Auto Owners Insurance sponsorship on his number 10. I believe he's got one teammate in this field, and that is the 14 of Johnny Gardner. I think he's back in that middle groove, the 14 sponsored by Nutrichomps. Of course, Gardner a Chase Briscoe fan, so he's got Chase Briscoe sponsorship. We saw Kyle Matthews earlier. There's Charles Sanford, his teammate out of S3 Motorsports, the Coca-Cola Vanilla Zero Sugar Chevrolet. Probably one of my favorite schemes in the field. And there is another Joanna Atwood Motorsports Toyotas. That is James Qualls in the 54. Running the Natalie Decker livery on his car. He's also sponsored by Castrol GTX this season.
That's good. That's good. Most of these drivers just changing up, going for different sponsors, except for Dylan Young, and just like before, it's still not going to help him in the championship.
I think the only driver in this entire field here for this race that doesn't have a slight difference to his paint scheme, number, team, what have you, is the 6 of Zach Rogers.
True.
Looking at Seth Cole there in the middle. Seth Cole out of Backmarker Motorsports. Now that team was expected to be only a 2-car team this season with Seth Cole in the 72, Cole Baker in the 11, but they did pick up some other drivers near the beginning of this season with Vince Almriego. With the folding up of Sega Motorsports, he moved over in the 42 to the team, and then also Sebastian Kukulon was originally scheduled to drive for JM01 Motorsports, but JM01 Motorsports decided to stay a single-car team, so Sebastian Kukulon, a rookie, will be driving the number 1 for the Backmarker Motorsports team as well. Cheese It Ford, new sponsorship for Adam Garcia, and here's a guy that I think would certainly forget last season. He spent a good portion of it dead last in the points, and he was 34th rather, in the final standings, so certainly trying to bounce back here this season. And there's Johnny Gardner, we mentioned earlier, in the number 14. He's going to have other sponsorship this season with Hunt Brothers Pizza and Monster Energy.
Comes Dylan Young back on the inside here.
Yep, the very familiar white and orange colors on his Hooters Mustang, but a little bit different livery from what he had last season.
So even though we're talking about different paint schemes, we also got to realize that we're under 10 laps to go.
We are under 10 laps to go. This happens to me all the time where I'm talking about these new teams and I'm like, oh look, we're getting to the closing stages.
Talk about the teams. Why are they slowing down? Oh yeah, the racing.
That happened last season one time.
I know.
It did
I know.
Happen. That's why you're here, to make sure that I don't do that again.
Oh yeah, but what if I just don't pay attention like you?
Then we're both in trouble.
We're gonna get fired. Oh wait, we can't.
Well, Jesse Turner started on the pole. Took him a little while to make his way back to the front, but there he is. So now he's got to make that car high, wide, and handsome. And how about the manufacturers up here? We got right now Ford, Chevy, Toyota, the top 3, so pretty good mix.
Yep, all we're missing is a Dodge, and here he comes right on the inside
He's
line
5th
there.
on that inside line. Yep, Zach Rogers. one driver that is missing from this field is our Daytona 500 winner, Carter Friesen, who did not have a pole last year. So right now, with Matt McIntyre up near the front, looks like we're going to have another driver take a checkered flag here at Daytona. It won't be a points win, obviously. Oh, wait a minute. We got pit stops here? Oh, my goodness.
Ooh, see, this is a reason why I don't turn pit stops on.
Well, this is interesting,
breaks
though.
up the field.
It's going to be 5 to go, and they're making pit stops. So this is going to really shake things up.
Just put in enough gas to go. I don't think you really need tires.
No, I don't think so either. And I would say here at Daytona, you probably just need about 4 or 5 seconds worth of fuel to be able to make it. So these guys are out in front, and they've got a bit of a gap because everybody else checked up for those drivers indicating they were coming to pit road. So Gardner and Turner will have to see if this is going to help them out in the long run. And are they both going to come to pit road this time? Turner is. Gardner, well, he is too. A little bit of a late entry, but he's coming down.
No, actually, that's a better entry than what the other person got.
True. Oh, little contact there onto pit lane between Dylan Young and Levi McIntyre. And how about this strategy? Trey Wright stays out all by himself.
Yeah, but that's not good. I mean, if he has to pit, he's going to be all by himself.
Well, he's being sponsored by the Boy Scouts of America. What's their motto?
I don't know. I've never went.
I never did either, but I know their motto is "Be prepared." So he's obviously prepared for whatever's going to happen here.
Let's see who got off. Let's see who got off of pit road first of those cars up front.
Looks like it was Michael Norman over Kyle Matthews for those drivers that came to pit road that first time.
Oh man, those two are quite the buddy. So
look at this. Zach Rogers got out ahead of both Johnny Gardner and Jesse Turner, who were the first ones to come down of that second group.
But the question is, will they be fast enough to outrun Michael Norman and Kyle Matthews?
I don't think so. They've got a pretty good run down the back straightaway as Trey Wright pulls into his pit.
They're already battling, and they're not even up to full speed
yet. Nope, they aren't. So
see, now this is a battle between friends right here.
I'm sorry, but when the green flag flies, there are no friends.
Yeah, but when you're just by yourself, mano a mano, you can have a little bit of fun with it.
Well, that's true. How ironic is this, too? Michael Norman went the entirety of last season without a victory. He might be able to get his first win of his Duracell Cup Series career here at Daytona. And you mentioned already the program that Michael Norman Motorsports brings to these speedways.
Yep. So it's really going to be a battle between these two.
I think you're right, because Zach Rogers
if they start battling, if they start battling like they are right now, then it's going to bring Zach right up to him, and he's going to get involved in this somehow.
We're coming to 2 laps to go. I mean, does this group here, you think, got enough time to get up there?
Yes, I think they might.
I mean, look at this. What, like 9, 10 cars all single file in a line. They're going to produce some pretty good speed. We'll have to see what the interval is. And they're still battling here for the lead with 2 to go.
Outside lane, man.
Johnny Gardner was about 4.8 back. Ryan Acosta, who I think was leading that big group we just saw, 5.1 back. They're going to have to cut it down to at least 2.5 when they get around to at least have a shot at this win to catch these two. And look at Kyle Matthews. These two, I think, are playing a little bit of chicken here of you take the lead. No, you take the lead.
So you don't always want to be leading on the white flag lap. We'll see. Michael is able to hold him off because of the outside lane. And look, Kyle's not able to get clear, and Michael gets the better run off the corner.
Yeah, we'll see if Kyle Matthews moves up, tries the side draft as the white flag is in the air. 1 lap to go. What's the interval back to that pack of race cars? If it's more than 3 seconds, I don't think they got a shot. It's about 4 seconds back, so I think you're right. It's a mano-a-mano of Norman versus Matthews, and Matthews, I think, has to clear Michael Norman before they get into turn 4.
Yeah, that's the only way it's going to happen.
He
can get a run. He can get a run down the back straightaway, but the outside lane is the lane he wants. He's not running the side draft. He's just kind of going. He's just kind of going down low.
He's got to move. He's got to move Michael up the track.
Side by side.
Oh, he hung.
These guys.
Oh, he hung with him for a moment there, but Norman's going to get the outside run, and Michael Norman wins the Clash at Daytona.
Not rigged, I swear.
No.
Not rigged at all.
I mean, maybe, but no.
told you, and that wasn't even gloating on myself. Michael Norman Motorsports has a plate racing package to beat.
Well, Michael Norman, as I stated last season, did not find victory lane, but
even though he was very close at that New Hampshire race I was at.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. He was definitely a driver that was going to make it here into this clash because he had the most poles last season, 5 in total. So he trades in all those poles for a victory here today. It's a non-points win, but you got to think for certain it's going to give him a lot of confidence heading into the 500.
Yeah, it does, until he wrecks in the Daytona 500.
You know, I wasn't going to mention that, but now that you did, I don't have to.
I mean, it's just a fact. The only Daytona 500 I ever won was Levi's. At least up to my knowledge, the only one I've ever won.
Well, Michael Norman, Kyle Matthews, obviously not real aggressive racing there. I think the two of them knew what was on the line. Probably were taking a look at some cars they'll be using for qualifying for the Daytona 500 as well.
I mean, they were trying. I'm not going to lie. Kyle Matthews tried.
Oh, yeah. I think what Kyle Matthews needed to do coming off turn 2 was have a little bit more of a gap between himself and Norman so he'd get a better run on the back straightaway. Because with him only being up to the door of the 18 coming off 4, we had seen all race long how that outside line, especially even not only the outside line but the middle groove, would get that better exit off of turn 4 and that better straightaway speed. But, I mean, he tried, but he comes up just a little bit short. Good run for
And something that we also learned about for this and going into the 500 and possibly the dual races is that on whatever setting you have this on, they can only go about 15 laps or so on fuel.
Good point. Very good point. Yeah, definitely those green flag pit stops came into play in the outcome of this race. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Michael Norman was the first one to hit pit lane when everybody started the green flag pit stop. So maybe that early coming to pit road might have also been a difference maker into him being up there battling for the win in the closing stages.
I'm curious on how he got such a big lead with Kyle over the rest of the field.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think that there was a bit of a stack up when everybody else was coming to pit road, so it separated the field out. But regardless, Norman with the win. Matthews going to bring it home second, and his teammate Charles Sanford there in third. You can see that big pack was still over 3 seconds back, so they made up some time, but I think they needed maybe another 10 laps to be able to reel in the top 2. Matt McIntyre, he's got pretty good numbers here in the clash. A win last season, a 4th place this season, and how about the retirement driver, Benjamin Miles? This is his farewell season. He brings it home with a top 5 and 5th. Rest of your top 10, Levi McIntyre, Matthew Rodriguez, Zach Rogers, Jose Mills, and the pole sitter Jesse Turner. And everybody managed to finish the race, all finished on the lead lap. You can see some drivers finished way back. That was probably due to where they came off of pit road in relation to being able to pick up the draft with other drivers. But regardless, we ran 20 laps clean and green, and with what we saw here, I mean, what are you expecting for the duels? What are you expecting for the 500? I mean, are we going to maybe see the big one, or do you think we're going to see pretty clean race for the season opener?
We may see a clean race because there wasn't really any people trying to go 4 wide or anything like that. So, in all honesty, we may see a clean race. I don't know if we'll see the big one. It's very questionable.
Well, only time will tell. But thank you all so much for tuning into this race. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. Thank you, Michael, for joining me here in the booth. Always a pleasure to have you.
No problem. Anytime.
All right, so up next here for this weekend, we have pole day qualifying. That's going to be, I believe, 2 rounds of qualifying that will take place to determine our front row. After that, the rest of the Daytona 500 grid will be determined with our 2 Gatorade duels. And then we finally kick things off points-wise with the season opening Great American Race. Can Carter freeze and defend his title? 39 other drivers say, no, it's my turn. But until then, I've been Seth Cole, he's been Michael Norman, and you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.
Chickens.